All right, so I got a question.
Okay.
This is something I always wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
Before you actually had your first child, did you think our relationship would change?
I don't feel like I was fully prepared for the differences that would come, the consumption that would come from all avenues, and the person I would have to become in order to now add on a duty of wife, entrepreneur, and now mother.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Bet. So, I mean, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this because
Yeah.
I've always wondered, like, before she has this child, does she know or does she even think that our relationship may change and shift some type of way?
I feel like that when it comes to the people that you're talking to and the people that are preparing you for different phases of life, I don't think they talk about the relationship with the partner as much as they talk about, like, oh, you're not going to get a lot of sleep, or, you know, things are going to be different. You know, when they be like, oh, get your sleep now because you ain't never going to sleep again, like all those things.
Right.
It's always in regards to what's going to happen with you and the baby. But it's not a lot of conversation or preparation in regards for you and your spouse. Like, there's nobody saying, hey, here's how to reconnect with your spouse after baby. You know what I mean?
Right, I agree. There's no blueprint when it comes to that,
Oh, no, no, no.
and I don't think a lot of couples are ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you might be preparing yourself mentally, like you're about to have a whole child, but you never really know what's going to change until that happens.
And I think the reason why you don't know what it's going to feel like or be like once it actually changes is because you're so excited in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, when you're
absolutely.
going through the process of pregnancy, you know, even through the sicknesses and all that stuff like that, like, you're so focused on my life is about to change, but I'm about to bring forth life, or I'm about to meet my child. You know, when it's especially when it's your first, like, wow, my everything is about to be different, but not just in the sense of the child's going to be here, but I literally am growing a person. And so I think it's important kind of to just, you know, before we really deep dive into this topic of how, how things change in our relationship after having a child, I think we should talk about the birth story, like our whole pregnancy journey.
Okay, the whole pregnancy, the whole journey, or just how
No,
he came about.
yeah, I mean, I guess once we found out, like, we'll save the rest for another day. But, you know, it was our anniversary. It was our wedding day.
Right. It was our anniversary. I did. Yeah, it definitely was. Wow.
So we went to Miami for our second anniversary,
Yeah.
and just chilling, kicking it. And I'll never forget, like, you brushed up against my boobs, and I screamed.
You know what? When that happened, immediately I knew. I said she's pregnant. I don't know how. I don't know why I thought that, but my initial reaction or what I was thinking, she got to be pregnant.
What made you think that, though?
I mean, I've read up on things before,
Okay.
And symptoms of early pregnancy, of knowing when somebody's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things, like sore breast. That was one of those things.
And the crazy part was, I feel like I thought about it, but I didn't know, because I have never, some women have that as their PMS symptoms, like, oh, I know my
Correct.
cycle is coming on and all that stuff like that. I've never experienced any of the symptoms that are really on that pregnancy symptoms list.
Right.
And I was just like, what the hell is that?
And also to contribute to that, you were kind of late when you were
Oh
like,
no, I was extra late, because
you
I
were like
remember I told you
5-7 days late.
I told you when we were going on this trip, like, hey, I just want to let you know the day we get there,
It's
it's gonna
time.
be that time of the month, and sorry about that.
Right. Yeah, I remember that now. And
But
and that's why I
that
thought
day
that.
came, the next day came. When that third day came, I was like, sheesh. I mean, yeah, I've been late before, but God.
Right. This has been scared, but my God.
Then the next day came, and I think we went home on like a Friday. We got there like a Sunday. We went home on Friday, and I was like 6 days late at this point. And That Saturday, I remember I went to get us a smoothie at Kill Me Crazy, and I went to Walgreens. I was like, let me just grab a little pregnancy test. No, no, no. We got pizza when we got home, and my stomach was toe up. I remember we
Really?
were sitting there
Oh.
watching a movie or something like that, and my stomach
The
just
pepperoni
started
pizza.
getting, I don't even know what you call it. It was just really bad. But I didn't think nothing of it. Like, I mean, people have upset stomachs.
Yeah, people. Yeah, have that, and
So I went and got that pregnancy test the next day, but I was just kind of like, it's not gonna be positive anyway.
so you were hoping it wasn't positive.
I don't know if I was hoping it wasn't positive. I just didn't want to get my hopes up in case it wasn't, because there had been plenty of times where there was there were opportunities. There have been plenty of times where we thought that I could have been pregnant,
Yeah.
and I wasn't. So at that point, I feel like now you're talking about 2 years into our marriage, and it just ain't happening. So I don't really want to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
Thinking that this one is going to be the one, and it's not, and then I'm sad and all that stuff. So I was just like, it is what it is.
And we wasn't trying to get pregnant too.
I mean, I feel like if you're not preventative,
Exactly. I don't know exactly if we weren't trying because we wasn't trying to prevent it
we
either.
were not trying.
But you see Lifetime stories and people really trying to get pregnant, things
Yes.
like that, and sometimes it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
We wasn't experiencing that to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent.
And when I brushed up against you and I knew that, I was like, man, she's pregnant. She got to be pregnant. At this point, I'm preparing myself mentally. I'm like, okay.
What did you feel in that moment? What did you?
I literally said, I'm about to be a father. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm freaking out in my head. I'm like, she got to be pregnant. There's no way. She's 7 days late. Feels like 7 weeks. And now her breast hurt. What else? And I'm like, okay, you got to prepare, bro. She's definitely going to be pregnant. Have her take a test.
Right. We never talked about the test. I went and got one, but when you saw it, when I came home, you were like, is that a pregnancy test? Oh, I was going to tell you to get one of those. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I guess we're on the same page here. And I took it and I got in the shower because I didn't really want to know.
You didn't want to know. You were very, very scared.
I was.
So why didn't you want to know, though?
Because I didn't want it to say. It's like, I feel like as a woman sometimes, even though you're not prepared for it, you're not planning for it, it's like you get just that little sense of hope, like, wow, that would be. It's like we were at a place in our lives, in our marriage, like we had been together for 7 years, and we were just in a place where it's like, if it happens, I'm not upset. Like if it happens, I'm perfectly fine, so I can live either way.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, I'm like, I don't want to have this little ounce of hope that I do have. And then, what I'm saying, my joy gets crushed. So let me just act like it's going to be negative anyway. That way I'll feel better.
Understandable. So I grabbed the test after you did what you did. I grabbed the test. And you want to say what you said? Because you thought
I did.
I had did like a.
He was like, and I was like, shut
a dramatic pause,
Yes, and I definitely cussed him out like, you are effing lying to me.
Yeah, stop effing lying.
Stop effing lying.
Lord, okay.
And he was like, no, babe, it ain't never said that before. And
right, I'm like, I ain't never seen this many lines.
No, I don't even think, I think it was the one that just said pregnant, right?
I don't know. I don't think it was. I don't know. Either one. It never said what I saw. I was like, it never did this before.
And immediately Malcolm started sweeping the floor because he said he needed to clean up the house because his baby was on the way.
Yeah, I started cleaning, try to yell out the window.
And he did try to yell out the window, but we lived on the 19th floor and it only opened a little bit.
Yeah, it only cracked. But I was definitely clean. I was ready. I was like, okay, oh man. I'm really freaking out though. I'm like, okay, what do I do next? She pregnant. Lord, do you need to sit down? What needs to happen?
You were definitely doing the most as if the baby was here today. But I could appreciate that because you never know what you feel like you'd want or need in those moments. And you were by far, 5 out of 5 partner in pregnancy.
I appreciate that.
You were wonderful. So fast forward, you're going through the whole situation. We, at that point, had to find a new place to live. We were shopping around, trying to figure out where we were going to go, trying to make sure business was running by itself. There was a lot going on in preparation for who we were. Like, how does our life change so much? I think it changed for me the most when I couldn't operate our business the way that I was. And I think it was in those moments that I felt like I had pre-partum depression.
Prepartum.
because
Okay.
things started to shift mentally. It was hard for me to, like, in the first trimester, I can't tell nobody, you know what I'm saying, that I'm
Correct.
pregnant. I'm sick as a dog. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, the nausea, morning sickness is a lie. It's a scam. It was all day, every day
Yeah.
sickness. I had some other medical challenges that happened during that time that it was just very uncomfortable. So I can't say anything. I'm feeling sick. And so I kind of like just fall off the face of the earth in regards
Yeah.
to what it was that I was doing because I can't say anything. I can't be vocal about it. And so I think that's where things started. I started feeling challenged mentally because I was in the flow of what it was that I was doing at the time. Like I had been on the road doing meetings and presentations and meeting with people and team building, relationship building. I had been on flights. We spent a year where we were on flights, 10
Every
days out of
week
a
almost.
month,
Yeah.
and to go from that and operating in that way to where I can't even get up out of the bed was very difficult for me mentally. And it's hard to really articulate what you're feeling. I think that's one of the major parts of motherhood that changes. And even when you're pregnant like that, there are some feelings that you start to feel that we don't have words for, because I've never experienced this before.
Yeah, and I think just being your husband and watching this kind of change happen, you kind of start to like feel bad for you. I started feeling bad for you, like, man, like I know she's used to this hustle and bustle, lifestyle that we kind of had, and for everything to slow down that quickly, it is an abrupt change that kind of rocks people, and then you feeling sick pretty much every day, that does put a toll on you emotionally.
Oh yeah.
And so were you thinking like, okay, because we're in the people we were in the people business, we're in the people oriented business, and when you go off the grid,
It's like,
people are looking like,
what is happening?
what happened to
Yeah.
such and such? What were you dealing with then mentally?
I just felt like I couldn't show up for people that were relying on me. I couldn't, and then the other part of it is that you can't be honest about it. You know what I mean? Because of course, once everybody knew I was pregnant, it was like this unspoken, "Oh, Brit's just pregnant. Oh, she can't do this because she's pregnant." And so then I had the grace amongst the people, and of course, a lot of that is just self-inflicted in your mind of what you're thinking people are thinking about you.
Right.
And I think that I struggled more with that in those moments, because now people, I mean, honestly, when you're in business, especially in entrepreneurship, I feel like if you work or you're in school, I feel like when you get to that point when you're carrying a child, people almost treat it like a handicap.
Yeah.
Where like, oh, let's go get the wheelchair. This person can't do anything anymore. And you like, when you're a person that shows up for people and you're in the type of business that we were in, and you're showing up for people consistently, then and I can't do that, or I can't get on a flight. Like, there were even early in my pregnancy, like my midwife, shout out to Brittany, she was like, Britt, you cannot travel until you're 20 weeks. And I'm like, the whole point of this whole thing is like for me to be able to still do what I do. And what was happening during COVID is that mothers were losing their babies
Yeah.
early, because there's this weird period in between the first trimester and the 20-week period where you can't feel the baby move. I didn't know this until, of course, I went through pregnancy, that nausea is a good sign. Like, you being nauseous is a sign that the baby is doing well.
Wow.
So there's this period where you're out of the woods and you're in your second trimester where you're no longer nauseous, but the baby's too small for you to feel the movement. And so what was happening is that mothers were catching COVID, or they didn't know, they were asymptomatic, and they were getting to their 20-week appointment, because at that point your appointments are month to month.
Yeah.
They're getting to their 20-week appointment and there's no heartbeat. And so because that had started happening so frequently during the COVID season, my midwife was like, you can't travel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I heard that, I don't play that.
Yeah, Malcolm turned into a whole nother person.
We're gonna be going by the book.
Oh yeah.
100%. Just because we were in such uncertain times when you were pregnant and dealing with that, COVID was really, really ramping up around that time. That I'm
Although
like,
we
nah,
had just got back from Mexico.
You ain't gotta do such and such. You ain't gotta go here. You ain't gotta go there. I just want you and the baby safe, in a safe
and
place.
Me too, because I think more more than I wanted to operate how I was operating, I wouldn't have survived mentally if something would have happened because I chose business over my safety.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
I completely understand.
I wouldn't have made it. You know, mentally, I would not have made
I
it.
think I remember you telling me that, like,
Oh yeah,
I don't know what I would do with myself if I lost this baby because of me trying to
do the most.
be who I was, you know, and the hustle and bustle of what we were doing.
Yeah.
And then around that time, you know, I said, man, I got it. Don't worry about it. Whatever I need to do in order to keep pushing it forward, I'll do. Even, you know, even when it wasn't the most ideal at the time.
Yeah, you did.
But so did you, fast forwarding, did you think there would be changes within our relationship, though?
I wasn't prepared for what they would be. I of course,
Okay.
it would be naive to say that nothing was going to change. Like I knew things would change, but I just think I didn't know to what extent. You know what I mean? When it comes to intimacy, when it comes to just the stuff that you're used to, like you and I would just abruptly walk outside, just take a long walk and just talk, and even pillow talk,
Catch
even
up, yeah.
you know, just catching up and just having that heart to heart moment consistently. Date night was so routine for us, but now I can barely move, or like, you know, at the end of the pregnancy and then with the baby. Now I don't want to you have that awkward period after you have a child where nobody goes anywhere.
Yeah, it's like you stop doing everything.
Anything.
It's like any and everything you just stop doing, and you care for the baby, which of course you need to.
Right.
You remember the question you asked me when your parents were here?
What did I ask you?
Did I feel like I wasn't useful or something like that? Do you remember saying that?
I don't remember saying that, but elaborate. How did that make you feel?
I mean, what's crazy is it was a surprising question because I hadn't felt anything around that time. I hadn't felt anything like that. But when you asked me that, it made me start thinking like, dang, you know what? Well, what is the husband supposed to be doing around this time?
Especially when my parents are here.
Yeah, there's so many people here that can care for the baby. And how I just saw it in the beginning was, this is their time too with the child because they're not going to be here every day. You know, they're going to be here 2 weeks, and this is their first grandchild.
Yeah,
allowing them to love on him and you know, and really really pour love into him. I was all for that because I understood, you know, it was much bigger than, you know, me feeling like I'm not useful. I didn't feel not useful at all. I felt very useful because it was so many errands I was running every day, all day. Like, you need this, you need that.
Yeah.
And then you got, like you said,
even the day my water broke.
Things. Yeah, the day when your water broke. It was so many things for me to have to do around that time to support you. And kind of how I saw it was, okay, this time you're taking care of the baby. This is my time to take care of you.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt with it. But I can absolutely see how men could feel like, well, I'm pretty useless at this point because in the beginning, the baby needs you.
Yeah.
They need all of you.
Besides taking naps, I mean, that's pretty much what you can help with.
Besides taking naps, the baby needs their mother, especially the first couple months.
Every 2 hours at that.
Every 2 hours at that. So I can see why God would be like, man, I mean, I'm in limbo. What should I be doing? Especially if you don't have like a full-time job and stuff like that,
right?
Which makes it even more like, okay, we're just sitting here. We're just sitting here trying to, you know,
figure out what this is. Yeah, I think, you know, I would hope that you didn't feel useless because you were very useful. And you still are to this day. I just think there's such a big adjustment to what parenthood really is. I think there's such a big fantasy that you have in regards to what this is going to be like. Like I had the biggest fantasies of life. One of my biggest fantasies is that after I drop this baby, I'm going to be back.
Back in what way, though?
All of the ways. I'm back. I'm back, especially when you're in a business, not even to mention a male-dominated industry and you're hearing people say, "Oh, Brit's back. Oh, I need you back. I need that old thing. I miss the old Kanye." Like,
and it could be offensive.
It was overwhelming.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I want to be back. I want to be who I was, but here's this person. How do I make sure that they're alive?
Right.
The hardest part about motherhood at the beginning is just The hardest part about motherhood in the beginning is simply, I got to keep this person alive.
Yeah. And you don't know how to fully.
And I don't even know what to do.
Yeah, you don't. Now, I want to explore that because I remember you telling me that, like, you know, because we're, like you said, in a male-dominated industry and things like that, when people are referring to, I need the old Britney,
Yeah.
how did that really, really make you feel at that time? Did you feel like, well, nigga, I'm me, you know, like,
I always felt like I was me. Like,
or I'm right here.
And that's always what like, what do you mean? Because, like, in my business, right, we present information, right? Sales, direct sales, all the stuff like that. So I was literally showing the business plan to people the night my water broke. So in my eyes, it was like I was still, besides being able to maneuver the same way, I was still doing all the same things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so hearing, like, you need to be here, you need to do this, and, you know, we got to get you back. Like, it's like, dang, like, I ain't even, my child is 2 minutes old. It's all fun and games when, you know, we at the hospital and you get to see the pictures and congratulations and safe delivery, but there's so many more complications that can happen after that. I remember, what was it, his first week?
Yeah. His first week.
By that following week, that's when Fatherhood came out. That wild ass movie with Kevin Hart. Kevin, you picked the wrong time to try to be serious.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You tried to pick. You picked the wrong time to be serious. You got to be careful what you watch. So what happens in this movie? Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it by now, you should have, because it's already like a new Father's Day at this point. Right. But in this movie, it starts off with them having a baby, and the mother dies in childbirth.
Well,
no,
after
childbirth, right? She dies in the hospital due to complications after childbirth. Off top, outside of now wondering, is my husband okay? Is my family okay? Is my baby okay? I got to make sure, am I okay? And I got to be paying attention to all these signs that I was unaware of. Like, I feel like people don't talk about, like, I'm going to answer your question, but I have to say, like, we are not prepared as women, at least in our culture, my family, whatever you want to call it, my community, not prepared as women for the mental capacity of turmoil and anxiety that is created from being pregnant and being a new mom. In pregnancy, is my baby okay? I'm going to the doctor once a month.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Our second baby, I'm 100% buying a Doppler. Like, I just need to know. You know what I'm saying? But you're going month to month. I didn't know that you wasn't going to get an ultrasound every time you went to the doctor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm expecting to at least see the baby every time, all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm learning all these new things as I'm going through the process. But you spend all this anxiety, you have all this anxiety around, is the baby okay? Am I doing the right things? Like, until I can really feel you kick, I really don't know. And then when they start kicking, if they're not kicking enough, they kicking too much. Is everything? It's like so many things that go through your mind throughout that whole period, because you're growing a life for 9 months.
Yeah, I agree. It can be it can be tough, and if you're not having the conversations, hopefully these are sparking the conversations for people to kind of start having now, because things are going to change. Your mental imbalance is going to change from a woman's perspective and a man's perspective too.
Talk about that, because I do think when it comes to pregnancy and delivery and postpartum, a lot of the attention is focused on the woman. But do men go through postpartum?
I would say yes. It's not voiced, and for us, we're such internal beings that we internalize everything. And we're never asked, how are you doing today, or how are you feeling as of right now? Do you feel seen? Do you feel heard? Do you feel any of these different things? We're never asked any of those things, and we kind of don't have the conversation amongst ourselves either. Unless we're completely, fed up or whatever, and we start talking about it. But you're right. I mean, there is a level of postpartum that men go through, whether they know it or not, and whether you think you do or not. Because sometimes our egos say, "Man, I ain't going through nothing," and you are, because things are going to change. The intimacy, for one, is the biggest factor that changes between a dichotomy, you and your wife. So you don't know the effects that it has on you as a male, because now you're thinking like, do I have to compete for love? And that's a big thing too. Like, you don't have to compete for love, but these are thoughts that can come up. Like, hey, do I have to compete for my wife's attention? And that's what kind of wanted me to bring you to this, because as I was reading about this topic of what we're talking about, I heard people say sometimes there's a resentment from both sides after having your first child, or having your world turned upside down. There's a resentment on both sides. One, on the mother side of things, it could be that the dad seems to have so much freedom.
Oh my Lord!
And it seems that you don't have as much.
Do you want to come get your son?
Yeah, right. And you don't have as much freedom. Let's explore that, because is that a thing? Do women really, really feel resentment when it comes to that?
I mean, I understand why you could. Like, I haven't personally felt like I resented you, but I have had moments where I'm like, not like, resentment is like a long-term thing to me. Like, moment of
it could be
resentment.
short-term. It could be like, man, this nigga right here.
Yeah, no, there have been times where it's just kind of like, you don't hear him crying, or you don't want to help, or, like late night, you hate if you ever have to wake up out of your sleep. Like, even when he was a newborn, you hated that you had to wake up to get the bottle, because Kaden went through a period where he would only nurse in the daytime. He wouldn't nurse at night. Right. And so you would get so upset because you have to get up and get the bottle. But I'm like, what you don't understand is that I'm literally up and I'm allowing you to sleep. And I think when you start to create, we've talked about it so many times this season about communication, and sometimes you'll have these internal battles with yourself about how you feel, where it's like, I haven't actually voiced to you that I'm tired, or I'm mentally drained, or I'm not making it right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? I need some assistance. I need some help. Can you take him? Can you I thought I saw a clip. Can you take him right now? Can you give me some space? Can I get a moment? I went through plenty of times where I was like, am I depressed? Like, I don't know what it feels like. I don't know what it looks like. This probably is it, since I don't know. You know what I mean? Just because it's so taxing, and mentally you're just thinking about so much, and sometimes you just don't want to have to think about nothing.
Yeah.
And I think it was easier when my mom was here. When my parents were here, we had extra hands with the baby. My mom was cooking. You know what I'm saying? It was just so many more, it was a false life.
Real you were definitely living a fantasy.
Oh my God, 100%. She was here for 6 weeks. We love you, Mom. Thank you. Come do it again the next go round. But I feel like there's a level of resentment because of unvoiced things that you're thinking about. And you're creating scenarios in your head that you just having a grand old time downstairs watching the game. You can't watch your son. Like, it's like, bro, maybe he just really doesn't know. And I think we had to start creating different dynamics. Like, even now, like, I don't wake you up as much at night because you take him in the morning.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a learning experience, because, like you said, I was so angry. Oh my God, I was so angry in the middle of the night, having to get up and make bottles, because I'm the type of person, if I get up, I'm up. I can't go back to sleep. Mm-hmm. So if it's 3 a.m. and I'm up now, well, my day has started at 3 a.m. and I don't know what to do with myself at this point. I'm mad because I'm tired, but I'm mad I also can't go back to sleep. It's so many different things. So what I had to start doing when I had to get up was I would pause, because I used to just jump straight up, and that's typically what we do. When it's our time, we jump up.
And at that moment, you become impaired.
Yeah.
And you didn't get anything we asked for. Now we having a full-blown argument. Listen, because you...
Bruh, I come up with the bottle.
No nipple
on the bottle. Probably barely any milk in it. I don't even know what kind of milk I had in it. Who knows? It could have been almond milk, as far as I know.
First of all, you definitely got breast milk every time.
Sleepwalking, so you come up there and
it's cold.
It's cold. You now you got to warm it up. Now you pissed now. Y'all back and forth, and there's a lot of bickering that can happen if you allow it to continue, instead of starting to understand, like, okay, what's my triggers?
Yeah.
And for me, I had to, like, okay, when it's time for me to get up, pause. Give yourself 30 seconds to a minute to actually get up before just trying to pop up out of bed, because it's your time now to kind of help. And that changed a lot of things for me, because now I got to decompress and get my thoughts together and understand, okay, you're up to do this for your child that's hungry. So because, we we don't tend to think like, okay, this is somebody that needs food that you know that you brought into this world.
Right. Like, what's wrong with this boy?
We're not thinking like that. I mean, we're not thinking like that. So taking that time to start thinking, is very, very important. But then also understanding a routine or something that can help alleviate some of the pressures of your spouse.
Yeah.
Is what I had to start learning, because like you said, when I didn't start having to wake up as much throughout the night, I wake up early anyway, and I wake up before you anyway. Why not take him so you don't have to, I guess, really get some more sleep. So you don't have to really keep waking up every 30 minutes to an hour just to feed him or whatever it is. You can help in that area, and that goes a long way. You can add some more sleep hours to your week.
My God, today.
That can change some things, that can probably bring the pressures down.
Just from that one opportunity of sleeping.
From that one opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say, I don't think dads get enough credit, honestly, because a lot of the new parent stuff is focused on the mom. I don't think they pay attention to how much you show up at the doctor's, how often you're there. And so it's interesting, because as a woman, I feel like you're trying to make sure you're meeting everybody's needs at that point. Now I have to meet the needs of my business. I have to meet the needs of, my business partners. I have to meet the needs of my husband. I have to make sure that our home is still taken care of, because the truth be told, with or without this business, or when this child is 18 and grown and, goes about their life, it's still me and you.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to make sure you're putting an emphasis on making sure you do rekindle, so that.
That's another thing. That rekindling process.
Oh my Jesus. This is an unofficial ad, but
what?
I'm gonna just say, go and get you a rose.
Okay. Dude, they're going to pay it. They're going
to have to pay for that. I got you. We'll add a link in the show notes.
That's real though. Like that rekindling aspect to your marriage that gets kind of torn up in pieces when you first have your child. It's really, really hard to get back to what you once were before.
One, because I don't want to be touched.
And
two, because I don't feel sexy. Like I don't feel like are you looking at me with these damn diapers on and like you think this is cute?
Lord Jesus, no, the diapers. Oh Lord, I remember that.
But that's what I'm saying. So how could I be, if I'm in diapers for 6 weeks and you're changing diapers for 6 weeks, how can I get out of this diaper phase and now feel like, oh, I can't wait to rekindle with my husband after he watched me sleep on a mat for.
See, here's the thing. All right, the 6 weeks, cool with. I was completely cool with the 6 weeks. I understood this. I mentally prepared for this for 9 to 10 months. I had already prepared for this 6 week hiatus, that was going to take place. I already understood that.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my issue, and neither, you being in diapers. I understood the recovery process. It was after that when there's somebody in your bed now at night.
He's a wonderful cuddler.
And there's somebody, there's your child there at night. It's very, very hard to have intimacy or begin intimacy when that is happening. And
I understand that.
And there's times where you could feel like, okay, is it me? Is it she doesn't feel up to this anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel up to this anymore? Do I even want to, try? And that's another thing for my guys out here. Like, we got to be willing to spark this thing off, because sometimes you could be dealing with things mentally, internally, and we do too.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with so many other things that you could be very well saying in your head, like, he may not want me.
Oh, 100%.
He may not want me. And this is why I want to ask you, have you ever thought the lack of intimacy was your fault?
Yes.
Why?
Probably more often than not.
Why?
Because I feel like everything is on me. You know what I mean? Like, even if you get into the point where you're starting to initiate, if I don't feel like it now, I feel like does he feel like he's being rejected in this moment? You know what I mean? I have to now contemplate all these things. Of course, there's plenty of times where you got to rev it up. Like, okay, get it together, girl. Like, get it together. You don't know who.
Oh, wow. I'm so weak.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you have to really. So I've often felt like it was my fault because you didn't deal with all of this. You know what I mean? You didn't push the baby out. You didn't have to go through recovery. You don't have to go through the mental thought of what is this going to really be? What is this about to feel like? Am I about to be screaming? Am I about to be pissed? Am I about to? Is it going to shake the same? Um, there's a lot more factors to it that I wasn't prepared to think about. And so it does make you feel like it's your fault
Yeah.
because, especially when you're now like, I remember when you put Caden out. When you put Caden out that bed and put him in his crib,
Here's,
it was like, oh no.
here's a life hack for my fellas out here. The sooner you get your baby to sleep in a crib,
I'm cracking up.
the sooner you and your wife can rekindle. And I made that a point, not even just
did.
for that. It was for him. It was for him not to be
Used to it.
where to the point where we can't get him out the bed, because I've heard the horror stories of that too. So it's training what you want to see also, and training how you want your child to behave. That was a part of that too.
He's a half nighter right now.
He's a half nighter right now. Yeah, it is better than all nighter.
For sure.
Way better than that.
He has great timing.
But you're right. I felt like you may be dealing with things mentally yourself, and for guys, I can only speak for me, but I feel like majority of us we get frustrated. We get frustrated when there is a lack of rekindling or a lack of intimacy, and then also a lot of us guys, we don't know what the heck intimacy is, because it ain't just sexual.
It's not. And that's the problem. I feel like a lot of times, men want to jump back into sex.
Exactly.
But you're not willing to, like, I just don't want to have to think. I want to talk to an adult for the day. I want to have conversations to actually not dump, but I want to alleviate the stresses and the pressures and the concerns that I have in life now that I didn't have before. You know what I mean? My mind was way less consumed. And I think that's a better word to use versus like resentment and all that kind of stuff. I just sometimes you just feel overly consumed to where there's no capacity to think about anything else, and that can cause frustration because I just feel like I need to take a moment to think. It's been to the point where like I'll stay up later. Mm-hmm. Even though I feel goofy for being up. I feel stupid for being up because I need to be asleep because I'm going to be mad when this baby wakes up. But this is the only moment where you're asleep and he's asleep that I can just not have to worry about nobody. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, sometimes I feel like when we were in that rekindle phase, I'm like, yo, take me out. Take me to a nice, do for me what you did for me. If you want me to do for you what I did for you. Right. If you want me to get back to the point where you don't, I'm saying you're not the only person initiating sex and all that stuff like that, then you got to go do for me to where I feel like myself. And that was one of the things my midwife had told you too.
She did. She did put me up on game on that. It's up to me to listen though, and that's what I did. I did listen to that, and I understood that. I mean, in the beginning, you don't know fully until you're like, oh, I remember this. I'm prepared for this. And like you said, taking you out, the rubbing of the feet, the talking, because sometimes you're talking to your child so much. You're talking to somebody that can't respond to you.
Or only talking about the child.
Yeah, so you want to have an adult conversation eventually. Mm-hmm. And can you have that adult conversation now that the dust is settled and then begin to kind of, reshape and rekindle what y'all had? Because it is very, very important, I think, in order for the marriage to continue to last too.
Well, I think even going back to episode 1 of like we're different people, and so it's the relearning of who have you now become. It's only been 3 minutes that you've been a mom, but everything has changed. Everything has changed. You know what I mean? You're now, what are you thinking? How do you feel? What does it feel like? We have those conversations all the time, like where it's like, how do you feel now that you're a mom? I mean, we honestly don't even believe that we got a kid. He's almost 1 at this point, but when you've been together for so long and now you got a 1-year-old, it's like, yo, we literally were just in, dorm rooms 5 minutes ago. Now we have a whole kid together. You know what I mean? And so it's wanting to have that conversation around who have you become? This was my question for you was like, how do you feel like fatherhood has changed you? Like your person, how has fatherhood changed you?
I am, and I was, and I am both a very impatient person. Mm-hmm. fatherhood has taught me a lot more patience. To have a lot more patience. I love fatherhood. I really, really do. I love seeing somebody that you literally created, like walking around joyful, running around joyful. It's made me think so much about legacy. It's crazy. I've always, before we even had a child, I didn't have life insurance, and I told myself, you start thinking about all these longevity things when you have a child, and I'm like, yo, I got a BMW, but I ain't got life insurance. That's a problem. And immediately, I went and got me a policy, because when you're by yourself, you're not really thinking like that completely. And this is for all young black men out here. Get that thing before it happens. You know, you gotta start taking care of some things, especially if you plan to have a child. And it made me start thinking about legacy building and wealth generating things. That, okay, what's past what we're doing now? What can I be setting up for the future? What businesses can I be doing now or starting now that I could be setting up for the future? What insurance policies can I be grabbing out there that it secures the future of the child or you or our family in general? It just allowed me to put what I already knew into absolute action. And being a father, it's so rewarding, because now you get to impart a lot of what you've learned into somebody else, but you also get to allow them to be an individual.
Yeah.
And before you have a child, you have all these expectations. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and all that goes out the window. When you have a child, now it's about, man, day by day, learning day by day. And it's an ongoing learning process, ongoing job, but it's the most joyful one.
It's the greatest thing, not fatherhood, but it's a joy to watch you grow as a father, as a man, as a person, because like I've been with you since you were 20 years old. So to see you as a father has like given me more love, more man, just a deeper level of love. And that's the crazy part, is like you can be going through all this stuff mentally and, experiencing all these challenges and anxieties, as I talked about, while you're going through that process and you're figuring out your rhythm in this new situation. But I feel like it also, although there are moments of resentment, it also allows you to literally fall deeper in love with this person for who they have now become. Like watching you be a father it's like next level. Like I was watching y'all today, and he was crawling behind you while you were walking, and you were like, "Come on, buddy!" Like, and I was just like, "This is just so cute." And he was on his walker, and you were like, "Oh, look at you! You walking my," and it's just like the support of like just seeing like, damn, I definitely picked a wonderful partner. I picked an incredible father for my children to watch how you've grown just in 10 months. And I've fallen deeper in love with you as you have grown, become a father. Even before that, when we first got pregnant, you found out it's just like the level of care and protection and intentionality that you have as a husband and as a father is just, I mean, wow.
I appreciate it, girl.
Let me stop for a week.
Listen, all right now. No, legit, like yeah. Being a father is the new sexy. Y'all better recognize.
I'm cracking up. There's
but,
a lot of dads
with the
out
right
there.
person, the right person, and I believe in doing it in marriage. But who cares?
Yeah,
you find the right person to have a baby with. That's your thing.
It's your prerogative.
It's your prerogative. At the end of the day,
it is.
How has motherhood changed you?
It's a full life 360. I say it all the time. It's like by far one of the greatest experiences that makes you tired, annoyed, happy, and joyful. It's like the weirdest oxymoron I've ever lived in. Where every single day is different, and watching him grow. Like now that he's 10 months, and like literally watching you stand up on your own, and you're walking a little bit, and you're developing this little personality. I think it's just made me a better woman, because my focus is just in a different place. It's just really making sure that I have healed myself. I think that's one of the main things that being a mom has made me really focus on, and like being willing to have conversations and become a person that's very vocal about how I feel, what I feel, and moving past places where I've struggled for a long time, because I don't want, him going through the same things that I went through because of my lack of availability, because I didn't work on the things I needed to work on.
Yeah.
And my mom asked me a really interesting question one time. We were having a conversation
What she asked you?
2 months ago. She was like, what wouldn't you instill in your son that happened to you growing up, or
Yo,
that you experienced
That's a great question.
as a child? And I wish she would have asked me if I had some preparation, because I feel like in that moment I'm like,
scroll?
oh my God, I would have had a scroll if she would have asked me if I had some pre-prep. But it's like in that moment, it's like, oh my gosh, why would I ever make my parent feel that way? And I think you learn a lot about your parents being people. You learn a lot about why things were how they were, and how people think when you're in their shoes. It's easy to judge everything when you're not in somebody's shoes. Even it's made me even a better person. Like, there's so many people so many people that have worked with me on a business level that were just like, who are you? You're so soft.
Yeah,
I don't
who is this
understand. Like,
person?
why
That's
aren't
funny.
you yelling at me?
That's
Like,
crazy.
first of all, I didn't yell at y'all. I
Yeah,
just tried to help you get to what you told me you wanted. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like there's just another level of understanding that I just feel like you just evolve as a woman. And in those moments when you just embark in another place. And I have a very soft spot in my heart for women that are going through infertility, that desire children, even ones that don't. And it's not saying that you can only evolve as a woman if you have a child, because that's not true. I know incredible women that are constantly evolving with and without children. But I feel like for myself, I needed this. I needed to become this person. There were so many levels to me that had to unlock in order to really go to another level as a person.
Yeah.
To really, you know, become a new me. There's some things that I just feel like I wouldn't have understood or started doing or focused on or been vocal about without him.
Yeah. I love seeing you be a mom. It's crazy because I'm like, man, he loves her so much. Like, he loves his mom so much, and it's a joy to see. Just the softer side of you, you know
I was hardcore.
that I see. No, I see this on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, facts.
But other people get to experience it and see it too, because it's one thing to know somebody through passing or through IG, in business, whatever it is, but to know that it can bring a certain level of humanity to somebody.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And relatability. It's a joy to see that as well, and it's crazy how you never know how it's really going to change you. You never really know what kids will do. How it will change you or your life, and how now we think about, man, there's no, I can't see my life without
Oh
my
my
son.
gosh. Thinking about this time last year,
How
there
the
was
heck did we operate?
what were we doing without a Caden?
What were we doing in our lives without having our son? It's hard to even think about now. And what's funny is a guy told me years ago that when your wife has your child, you're going to love her that much more. And back then I was just thinking like, man, pregnancy, her going through pregnancy, the baby coming out of her, how? I don't
Our whole
how
life,
am I going to be? I was very shocked.
He was
Listen.
like, I'm now trying to throw no hot dog down the hallway.
Listen, I was so ignorant, and and we do this in our heads, though. We really do. We think about, are we gonna fall in love even deeper with the woman of our, that we're with? How are we gonna love them, the child, both of them? How is this dichotomy gonna work? And the second you had him, I fell that much more in love with you, and seeing y'all together. I'm in love every single time. So it's like it's something that comes over you like, man, I'd do anything for my family. It really is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
I would do anything for them. And I just think I'm grateful because I feel like we have evolved as individuals, but we've definitely evolved as a couple. Just our mindset now is like we on some other we be about it right now. Just because it's making sure that he has a life that we never got to live, but also just making sure that he's prepared in life and that we're able to live our lives to the fullest with him, versus having to feel like life has halted or things have changed so much that we can't live anymore. We
Right.
want him to be able to experience a full life because we of the things that we've done, in our time, being able to make sure that, he gets to experience the world at whatever great heights he could.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that your life lesson? This is the part of the show where we talk about the life lessons.
I
So,
would say my life lesson is things are going to change. It's being ready for change, being open to change, being acceptable to change, but being willing to make sure that the change is the way you want it, because things are going to change, but it doesn't mean they have to change in a way that's negative. We actually have the ability to shape the change that comes with our families, with our spouses, with our partners, and with that child when we transition into this new space. And so it's just being open and understanding and not naive to the fact that things are going to change. But although they may change, although they will change, they do get better. And when you find that rhythm, you find that flow, and you do it with the right person, you just end up in a place that's just bliss over time.
yeah, I think my life lesson is be completely understanding of each other's process. There's going to be a process that you both go through, both together and individually, and understand that everyone has a different way of dealing with things.
Yeah.
And to not be afraid to have the ugly conversations. Hopefully some of the conversations that we had tonight strike something in you all to have a conversation with your spouse about, having future kids or having your first kid or whatever. Having these dialogues early and really starting to understand, like, okay, we're in this together. We can get through it together, whatever time this is, and we have a new bundle of joy that we get to love on and appreciate that God has given us. So I love it.
I love it.
I love the process.
I love
It's
you.
an everyday grind process. Every day is changing. Every day is different.
But every day is great. Every day is
every
better.
day is great. Every day we love the same. So
I love you.
I love you too, baby.
Well, this was
This is one of them ones.
This was So Let's Talk About It production. And we're your hosts, Brittany Garrison. You can follow me at Brittany Donnell on Instagram.
You can follow me, Malcolm Garrison, Malcolm_2_ Garrison.
And then you can follow the show at So Let's Talk About It Pod. We want to hear from you. How was your experience as a new parent or a repeat parent? We'll probably have a conversation about that in years to come. Amen. But we want to hear from you. What did you take away from this episode, and what's been changing for you, and how can we help you make it better? We love you guys. Don't forget to submit your questions that you want to submit into the show at So Let's Talk About It Pod at gmail.com. And like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and rate
If
the
this blessed you,
podcast. If this blessed you.
join the Patreon, and we look forward to helping you all sift through some of these conversations, because we have them daily.
We have them daily.
And now this podcast has been like therapy too, in a sense. So.
Yes, and us being able to have a little bit of our intimate moments and our deep thoughts together as we continue to grow together over time. We love it. So we love y'all. We appreciate it. Let's talk about it.